And what happened?
Well, almost disappointingly, they caved in straight away.
Oh,
We wanted a bit of a fight,
mm,
but no, they caved in straight. What they said was, we don't agree with your position, but to avoid any further issues, remove
mm.
the flag immediately.
Maureen Martin, it's such a joy to talk to you again. It really, really is. Welcome back to the Coalition for Marriage YouTube channel.
Yes, thank you, Tony. It's great to be back.
Now, for those who don't know you, well, goodness me, they should do, because you've got form in the marriage defence arena, because you lost your job because you were applying for a local authority election role. And in doing that, you'd released a leaflet, and in your leaflet, you'd said you think man-woman marriage is good and should be promoted. And because of that, effectively, you lost your job. You took them to court and you won a significant payout because they shouldn't have dismissed you for having that view. So well done you, that's fantastic. And we can maybe pick up on that in a couple of minutes' time, because of course you didn't leave it there.
Exactly.
You weren't finished with Lewisham at that
Not at
point.
all. Not at all.
No. Yeah, so I want to talk about the most recent thing which happened, which was in the run-up to the elections and the display of what's called progressive pride flags by Lewisham Local Authority, and you thinking, well, actually, I believe in something different to that, and I think that's a political statement, and I don't think you should be doing that in the run-up to an election. So tell us what you did.
Right. So, Christian Concern contacted me and asked me to check to see if Luton Borough were flying a progress flag, because the other rainbow flag, the more traditional LGBT flag, has planning permission, but this progress flag does not.
Yeah, so this is the one with the triangle, of course, isn't it? It's kind of got the triangle with the blue and the pink and the white and other bits and bobs in it.
The latest iteration of, of the pride flag. So I ran down there, took photos. Indeed, they were flying the progress pride flag. It was Pride Month, but it was also an election month, because we know the Prime Minister called this snap election. So, number one, they did not have planning permission. Number two, they were being partial in promoting views that not all parties or individuals in their borough would agree with, which is against legislation. In fact, let me just find the legislation they were in breach of. It says, a local authority shall not publish or arrange for the publication of any material which in whole or in part appears to be designed to affect public support for a political party.
Interesting, yeah, or to take public support away from another place, and that's interesting because you now our supporters come from all faiths and none. I happen to be a Christian myself. You too, and you were a member of or are a member of the Christian People's Alliance, which has a very different stance on these things. So you could prove quite evidently that in fact they were taking a political position.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I mean, we outlined to them that all the major parties have different stances. So Lewisham Council has no legal stance to support any of those views. They should be neutral, and they clearly were not. So what we did, we gathered the proof that they were indeed flying this progress flag, and Christian Concern and the people who are supporting me in the legal area, they wrote a letter to Lewisham Council outlining where they were in breach of legislation as a local council. It was a official legal letter, and we threatened to take them to court if they continued to fly this progress flag.
And what happened?
Well, almost disappointingly, they caved in straight away.
Oh,
We wanted a bit of a fight,
mm,
but no, they caved in straight. What they said was, we don't agree with your position, but to avoid any further issues, remove the flag immediately.
very interesting. Very, very interesting.
Indeed.
So, in terms of, I mean, firstly, well done, and let's make it clear that these are political issues, and like you were saying, it does seem, if they were to, during an election cycle, fly a conservative flag, let's say, that would be completely inappropriate.
Absolutely. And then they would never dare to do so.
They would never dare to do so. Exactly. Or any kind of other political flag. Or Christian People's Alliance flag. Again, they've got to be objective, surely.
Everyone who pays their council tax to them expects services to be delivered equally and without partiality.
Yep. Which makes perfect sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to overtly be flying a flag that clearly supports a particular brand of politics, if you like, and particular parties is completely appropriate, and it's against the law. There is that little issue. So obviously they realised this. They didn't want to admit liability, of course. We had them banged to rights, as you say. And so they did remove the flag straight away, which is good.
So what about, do they have any road markings? Because I know where I live, right in the middle of town, there's a massive, great big progressive pride flag all over the road.
Not that I'm aware of in Lewisham. However, in last year, Pride Month, they had, I believe it was the same flag flying in quite a few different locations. This one, I believe, was just at the main town hall. I didn't actually identify any other area. There may have been, but I didn't identify any.
So that's very interesting. So what are the lessons to be learned there? Is it something which, so for example, I live in Wales. At some point in the not too distant future, we'll be having Assembly, Welsh Government elections. Would the same apply here?
I have no doubt it will, Tony, because that flag represents a particular political stance. Not all individuals in your area will agree with that stance.
And it's everywhere. It's we took a student to university at the weekend, only to find that the room keys were handed out on progressive pride lanyards. And you think, really? Is this the first message you want them to get at your university? That actually the most important thing is how you identify with your base desires and ideology around puberty blockers and children and that sort of stuff. Is this really how you want to give your initial message as a university? Not about academic integrity, freedom of speech. You really want to, it's everywhere.
Absolutely, the things that we value as a free society, as a democracy, the things that universities should be promoting: critical thinking, valuing our freedoms, being free to speak your mind in a free environment. These are the things we should be championing at universities. But we're not. We're pushing kind of left-wing ideology.
Yeah. Well, listen, Maureen, I mean, first of all, thank you very much for doing that, for making a stand. And again, this isn't, in a free liberal democracy, some would argue people should be able to live the lives they want to. But that's very, very different to the government promoting a particular message, to local authorities continually pumping something into people's hearts and minds, which is not necessarily what most people believe. It's a very different thing indeed. So I'm grateful for you standing up. What's next? Is that the end of this from your perspective, or is there anything else rumbling on?
Well, we'll keep a beady eye on them throughout the coming years, and if there are any other political campaigns or campaign elections going on, like by-elections or whatever.
And that's great. And that's, I get that this isn't necessarily a party political thing, because it's often different parties, different people in parties believe different things, and some parties use these things as a free vote and some people whip them, etc., etc. But from our point of view, we don't promote or support any particular party. We support and promote the liberty of being able to stand up for man-woman marriage, because it's the thing that underpins the best version of society, and that it cannot be lost. And things that contradict it, things that undermine it, things that speak against it, it must be held at bay, and we must maintain the right to speak loudly that man-woman marriage is good and great and should be promoted.
Absolutely. We have to defend the foundations of our society, and that is it. It's marriage. When marriage breaks down, society breaks down.
Maureen Martin, I think you're an absolute heroine. And thank you very much for all you've done. And I think, just, I suppose, to conclude, we spoke at the beginning. It's not always easy, because it means, people like you, people like Felix Ngole, so many people that we speak to, yes, they stand and yes, they win. But actually, it doesn't stop there. Their card is marked, and that doesn't really go away, does it? And nobody takes account of that.
No, Tony, it's one of the downsides of speaking. I don't regret it for one moment and taking my stance and to the truth, which is that marriage is between one woman. However, you are sort of blacklisted in the area of career choice you had chosen originally. So it does make it very difficult to get another job in that area.
And everybody does web searches these days before they recruit anybody anyway. But listen, what you must know is that there are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who are grateful to you for what you're doing, for what you've done, for arguing for not just marriage, but standing up for free speech generally. It makes a huge difference. You are an absolute superhero. So on behalf of us, on behalf of all of our supporters and so many more people up and down the country, Maureen Martin, well done and thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony, and thank you everyone for watching.